of people in it.
Spicy behind the scenes check.
When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies, gentlemen, welcome. This is the Meta Show for July the 15th, 2023. It has been a good week. It has been a long week. We've had some fun things happening. We've had some not so fun things happening. We've had some feeds, a variety of feeds from all around New Eden. No one has managed to go hungry this week. And I am now 46 years old. Happy birthday to me.
Wow.
As of last Wednesday.
46.
There you go, right? Pretty cool.
You don't look a day under 70.
I know. I look so good.
Oh, yeah.
And I had moved the Eve background to make it look really good on my other screen and didn't do it on the main screen. So let me go bring the lovely, lovely, lovely colors of 39P's Keepstar and Satoyo into frame there. The joy of what you can do with these new Evermarks. It's pretty amazing. Now, hi guys, how are you? Mark is here.
Hello.
We have Asher, Mr. Asher Elias, the Alliance Executor for Goonswarm Federation and the Imperium, here to talk about his 1-year anniversary. But before that, we have Marky Mark, and I are going to talk about some CCP related stuff because there were some shenanigans that happened this week that I thought you guys would appreciate us discussing things. Asher, before we get to that, the guys were asking, is there going to be a fireside today?
No, this is the fireside. And I'm like Dan Snyder. It's Mr. Asher Elias or Mr.
Asher Elias Dio.
Yeah. We're very much Dan Snyder right now.
You know, listen, I'm glad to see that we're doing the work. I'm glad to see that we're doing the work of reaching out to some of these more junior Alliance executors. As an Alliance executor myself for a couple of years now, seeing guys come around, you know, get their year in, that feels good to me. It feels good.
There you go.
A young come up, you know.
Yes, yeah.
He's pulled it off. He has managed to grab.
He managed to make a year.
A year.
Wow.
There you go. Now, to start the show, many of you may have received from CCP their quarterly customer satisfaction survey. It's just kind of one of these things where every quarter they reach out and they say, hey, are you playing Eve? What do you think about it? How do you like this? How do you like that? And one of the things they decided to discuss was Twitch drops. Now, since you guys are watching the show on Twitch, I'm going to assume that you know what a Twitch drop is. But for those of you who live in high sec, let me explain what a Twitch drop is. So, various games partner with various streamers to allow you to get in-game items by watching the stream. This has been very popular for a lot of games. New World did it when it first came out. It was popular with Sea of Thieves. I know we did it on there. A bunch of other games, Albion Online in particular, has done Twitch drops very creatively. And we have, as a streaming community, been asking EVE Online, please, can we get some Twitch drops, CCP? And they've been working on it. And they asked, and this is, I think, a good sign, because maybe it means we're just a little closer to getting Twitch drops where you guys get rewarded for doing the things you're already doing. We'll get to that in a minute. Through watching our stream. And they asked, I'm not even kidding, they literally asked this, what would you like to see for free in-game gifts via Twitch drops? And if Eve was to do a Twitch drop, how desirable would each of the following items be? And the list included the things you would expect. It said skins and Plex and Evermarks and boosters and starter ship packs and Titans.
Wait, what?
Interesting.
No, I actually didn't get the survey. Was Titans on there?
It was. Yeah.
It's literally the bottom one on the question is on your screen right now. This is the actual question cut and pasted from the actual survey. I took the survey.
That feels like the joke answer, you know, you put for D when you just don't have a final one. Like,
Right. This has to be. I mean, this is. Listen, guys, we're not getting Titans. Okay, you can say that right now.
I mean,
right?
you say that.
Look, listen. The whole point of bringing this up is I want to advocate for it. Do you guys understand How many people would be watching the Meta Show? How many people would be watching Rampage Incorporated? How many people would be watching Wormhole Wednesday and Push to Talk and Theta Thursday and all the other shows on INN and the other partner streams? If we got to hand out Titans, if Titans was a thing, I would stream
more than every 2 months if I could do that. Like,
right? Asher, you could literally put my wife to sleep every single night the way she likes it, listening to your dulcet tones.
Listen, I'm used to giving your wife it the way she likes it, so you know, not really unusual.
There you go. Wait, Mrs. Brisc is a huge Smasher Elias fan. You guys know this. And loves to listen to his stream.
The amount of people who say like that when I stream, they like fall asleep to my voice. I don't know if it's a compliment though. Is that really something where you're like, oh, thanks?
Listen, I said the same. Dawn Reyes said the same thing to me. Brisc, I love it when you guys put the Meta Show podcast up early because then I can fall asleep to it. And I'm like, thanks.
We have a podcast?
Mark, this is a professional program.
Oh, are we a podcast?
We are a podcast. We are a YouTube channel. We are everywhere.
Gotcha. Okay.
About the only thing we don't do is TikTok because that's for
Check
spies.
us out on Friendster, MySpace.
Right.
MySpace.
Check us out. Check us out. Put us in your top 10 squares on
LimeWire.
We had an RSS feed, all kinds of stuff.
I kind of want to see us on TikTok now, though, Brisc. I need to see you doing those like kind of situations.
Little dancey things. I could probably make that happen.
See? There you go.
Listen. So obviously we're not going to get Titans, but I do appreciate the fact that somebody at CCP thought it would be funny, and I'm hoping that this was kind of like I wonder if they're actually reading this kind of thing.
I mean, it was funny. It was very funny.
It's pretty funny. Now, when I ranked these, I put Titans third because I figured nobody's going to do that. But Plex and Skins 1 and 2, obviously, because those are the one. I mean, that 6 is the most desirable, so Plex would be it. Being able to earn Plex, I think, by watching streams would be amazing, and I hope that that's something that CCP is willing to do. They already do Galnet skins on the CCP channel, which has kind of got a janky back end where it's poor CCP convict having to hand things out to people. But in the meantime, hey, you know what? And no, I don't think this was ChatGPT making the survey. I think this was a funny troll from one of the community guys that just left it in there, and then the people that do the poll didn't take it out. Right. That sounds to me like this.
The people of the survey have no idea what that means. Like, you know, they don't.
Exactly. What's a Titan? Okay. I guess we can hand that out. Now, speaking of things that should have been left out, but were not.
Oh, yeah.
We're moving on to the next thing. Now, you may have seen this today. This was announced earlier today by Eve on Facebook and other places. This is not a scam. Well, it's a scam, but it's not a fake post. This is real, okay? CCP is apparently partnering with this Million Pugs thing, this thingy, that essentially is an extension on your browser that you stick on there. And every time you go to one of these websites and you buy something, you earn loyalty points through this Million Pugs thing. And you can eventually, after you get a certain amount, use them to turn them into Plex and Omega time. Now, why would anybody do this? Well, first of all, 1, because they don't know any better. And 2, because it sounds good. Hey, CCP saying, hey, I can earn Plex for doing the stuff I'm already doing. Well, you know what happens while you are using this extension? Every single thing that you buy with it is being tracked and sold to people to advertise to you better. That is the point of these programs.
They're selling your data for sure. I mean, they won't come out and say it, I'm sure, but they're selling your data.
Now, some of the guys in the Reddit thread that were talking about this said that the amount of money that you're going to have to spend in order to earn enough Pugs to get a month of Omega time is significant. And that doesn't surprise me because that's the way all of these things tend to work. They want you to use them as often as possible, and they're not going to give you a whole ton of credit for it. But hey, the one thing I will say that annoys me more than anything else about this, and Mark can back me up on this, is that this is yet again something controversial that has to do with advertising that was not passed by the CSM.
No.
I read about this on Reddit today. In fact, I didn't even read about it on Reddit. I saw it linked to me by someone in the Push to Talk Discord because they wanted to know if it was real. And I had never seen this or heard from this, and this was not run by the CSM. We would have told them, I think, if they had presented this to us, say, hey, guys, we're going to do this. So I'm going to be like, you can do it, but it's a scam, and people are going to shit on you for it. Well, and they'll do it anyway.
Moreover,
but we could have told them.
I said this before the show, too. The worst part for me is that as soon as something like this comes out, people immediately come to us and they're like, well, what the fuck, right? Because they want to know, like, what are they thinking? Like, what's going on behind the scenes here? And the worst part is when we're blindsided like this, we don't know. I mean, what are we supposed to say? We sit here looking like a bunch of idiots with our thumbs up our asses because we have no idea. So even just a heads up being like, hey, we're about to do this really stupid thing. Just so you guys know, be aware, people are going to come flame you for it. So we could at least like braced.
Just let me know.
Not even that.
Please. Anyway. All right. Now, moving on. Let's get back. So we've gotten the CCP stuff out of the way. This was a pretty solid week for EVE news. And I think the first thing I want to talk about, obviously, is the biggest loot drop that we've seen in New Eden probably since the Hard Knocks Keepstar died, right? Yeah. In Rage.
Certainly outside of a wormhole.
Certainly outside of a wormhole. Happened earlier this week. On July the 10th, the Scarkon Fortizar, this was Sunday of last week, the Scarkon Fortizar, which we talked about. Gobbin's Precious, his Scarky Fort. The Scarky Fort.
Oh, man.
His Scarky Fort was under its final hull timer. We were able to beat them on both. I was on the fleet that refed the original shield timer. We came back. We had a nice little fight, and we refed it on the armor timer. And then we were expecting the mother of all battles over this final timer, the Scarkon Fort. Why would we do that? Asher, could you tell us a little bit about the Scarkon Fort and why we thought we were going to get a fight out of this?
Well, it's irreplaceable. You know, it's grandfathered in. You can't put up another one. It holds capitals that are also irreplaceable, and it's holding a lot of stuff. Like, they did actually evacuate it, but it's holding stuff for people that can't retrieve it right now. People who are on vacation, people who are on deployment, people who care about their stuff and presumed it was going to be safe because it had been safe and had been declared to be very important. And then it was just abandoned, just left to die.
Just abandoned, just left to die. This was, I think, one of the things that we were all shocked about, because this was a day we were planning on forming up 3 hours, or we did. We formed up actually 3.5 hours before the structure came out of reinforcement to make sure that we could get our guys on grid fast enough. And Horde was supposedly forming before us, at least half an hour before us.
Yeah.
And then about an hour before game time, while INN is streaming, Merc and I are on Rampage. We have an audience of close to 500 people. What happens? Well, we get this ping from the old Gabbarino. Too many dudes.
Too many dudes.
And then, of course, with the inevitable, what do you say to your guys to make them feel better when everything has just gone ploin-shaped? And that is, good form up.
Pardon?
Good form up, guys.
What shaped?
Ploin-shaped.
Is that like pear-shaped? What is ploin-shaped?
Ploin, listen, it's a Warhammer 40k reference. It's ploin.
Have you been infected as well?
I have been infected.
Oh, jeez.
Caiaphas Kane says ploin-shaped all the time, so I've inserted that into my.
I'm sorry, I'm ruining your narrative push here, but
anyway, but it's fine. You're allowed to. You're the boss. Listen, he goes, good form up, guys, but we're outnumbered by about 600 to 900. Are you fucking kidding me?
First off, that was like that was not an accurate assessment. That he exaggerated how much they were outnumbered by to make it seem, in his eyes, more acceptable. 600 to 900. It was we did have more than him, but not like 300 more than him. Not even close to that.
And not only that, but they had easy ways to get folks in, and they also had plenty of crab ults that were already there that they could have used to bulk up the numbers if they needed bodies. I mean, the idea that Horde cannot, in U.S. time zone, form more than 600 people to defend what Gobbins himself has said is critical to their efforts in Pochven is beyond absurd to me. But that's what happened. And they couldn't get the numbers. So instead of a major fight, which we were hoping for, over an irreplaceable structure packed to the gills with goodies that we're all going to drop, because that's the way Pochven works. It's like Marky Mark's territory.
It's great.
Whenever shit dies, it comes in.
Awesome.
It was pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're going to talk about the fight that just happened a little later, but I think it's really useful to compare the two, because that EK2 fort that was just fought over, we knew that they had long range dreads. We didn't. Like, we knew they had an advantage, and that fort is not important. Like, you can ask the boss guys and they will tell you how important that fort is. It's not. It's a fort in Venal. That's the importance. But you know, there's plenty more forts to drop. We went out there and fought over it because it's Saturday. Our guys want to shoot stuff. You know, we were trading even until we decided, you know, we couldn't reinforce, and then we lost a bunch of shit on the Diagro, right? And that's fine. Like, you know, I think everyone with us is happy that we went out and fought. But think about how little, how unimportant that fort is to us. So how strategically non-useful it is to us.
We were willing to take, as Asher just noted today. Oh, wait, never mind. I got to get to that later. This is the fun one. Where is the? Here it is. Yeah. This was today's fight. We were willing to take a almost 135 to 45 loss on a fort that didn't fucking matter. Where we were not outnumbered, but we weren't really that. You know, we were slightly.
That's about how much we outnumbered them at Scarkon, right there. Like, that's about more the accurate numbers. About 150. We had about 150 on them.
We took this fight on a fort that didn't fucking matter. Boss didn't even give a shit about this EK2 fort. They don't care. It's all asset safety anyway. Nothing was dropping today. It's just a kill mail.
It wasn't even a mail.
We took this fight.
Yeah.
And they didn't take a fight with similar numbers. Now, Muskie is in the chat saying, "You're a liar, Asher. Look at the battle report. There's 999 people on the battle report." Well, if we're going to go straight by what the battle report says, well, let me pull up the battle report for you, and then you can try to explain this. Why, if there were 999 people on the battle report, well, there were 1,400 people on your side.
Yeah, battle reports are accurate.
Battle reports are super accurate, aren't they?
I'm in his fleets. I know how many they have. Like, they didn't actually show up so that they couldn't be counted. I counted. I knew how many they had. I knew how many we had. We had more, like I just said, but the 900 to 600 thing was not an accurate summation of the difference.
Now,
it was
to be completely honest, I mean, look, let's walk through this. Why do these numbers look the way they look? First of all, Team A, 1,000 people. There were 409 goons, 205 initiative, 91 brave, and then a bunch of other folks in the Imperium and elsewise. And then you also had all of the people who, once Horde stood down, made their way over there knowing that this loot pinata was going to drop a bunch of stuff, and they all wanted to get on the kill mail, so they shot at it. Were there 1,000 effective dudes there that could have fought? No. Obviously not.
That BR is just not accurate. It doesn't matter. They're just...
Right. And then on the other side, this number is not even close to accurate, the one that I was mocking Muskie with, because it includes the dead, empty ships of all the people that were in there who had stuff that was dropped that died. Fraternity, 96 people. There was not a single, I don't think I saw a single live fraternity member in that system.
Muskie, you trying to own me because I said I was on your fleet talking about Pandemic Horde, and you're trying to say I wasn't an FC? Your fleet, Pandemic Horde.
Who is this dude?
He's an FC.
Muskie is one of the Panfam FCs. He's very very salty. He gets very upset sometimes.
Yeah, he's one of the angrier people I've ever encountered.
He's angry. This was a U.S. time zone thing. It was like 11 a.m. on a Monday in China, so there was no way Fraternity was going to get folks there, and that's understandable. I
mean, the Horde is the biggest alliance in the game, and their best time zone is U.S. time zone, so it couldn't have been more favorable to them because it was their timer. They set the time, right? Like, we were playing at their home turf. They had capitals that they could have used to defend it that we cannot bring in because you can't bring capitals into Pochven.
Correct.
They have a bunch of caps in there.
They had till they moved them out.
They had every advantage, and this is the difference. This is why we're growing and they're getting smaller. Is that they have learned all the wrong lessons by trying to be goons at home. They're trying to be goons 2016 because that's everything they wanted to be. It's why they call themselves beans instead of bees. It's why they copy all of our doctrines. It's why they do everything wrong, and it's why they're getting smaller and we're getting bigger. They're still the biggest alliance by far, and Eve. I don't want to make it out like we're bigger than them because we aren't. We're much smaller than them. We're definitely number 2. But you look at the Delta, and you can see like the people who are leaving and the people who are joining us, there's a reason. And this is the reason in action. It is attitudes and action. We just took a fight that we didn't need to take, that we knew we were not going to do great on. We tried our best. We gave some FC's experience that we probably like wouldn't have done before. Like, it was good for us, right? And it's good for the people. They have this irreplaceable, extremely valuable asset that they have a chance. Maybe it's 30%, maybe it's 40%, maybe it's 20%, but they certainly had a chance to win that fight, and they're not willing to take the chance when it's very important. How important does it have to be for you to take a fight where you have a chance at losing? That is the question for Horde, and it's one they can't answer because their answer is never.
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 Never. That's what they do. To me, it is absolutely unbelievable. Mark, would you guys have ever, as a wormhole guy, would you guys have ever just walked away from a 3 or 4 year old structure you couldn't replace that was full of guys' assets in it would you guys have ever not taken that fight?
So no. And we could talk about their, the difference between asset safety and a lack of asset safety, and why, whenever our structures are threatened, it means so much to those groups. But at the end of the day, I feel like, at least for me, even recognizing that there is we have game planned this so many times because there have been a number of groups that have threatened, groups my size or above or below in wormhole space. And so we've game planned it. And the conclusion we always came to was that it is always better, even if it's just for like your pride, right? It's always better for the cohesion of your group if you're going to do at least the bare minimum to like put in the effort to make the attempt to save a structure, not just for your own stuff. Like, I don't have enough freighters in my fort to shove all those dreads in. Like, if the fort dies, like, stuff's gonna pop out. That's just the way it is. But I've got guys who have stuff in our fort, and we periodically we flip the fort, and we always let people know ahead of time, and we try and account for everybody's assets. But the bigger and bigger a group gets, the harder it is to do that, because you just have more guys go AFK, and eventually some groups just stop because it's just not worth the effort. And so those guys aren't just defending their own assets; they're defending the assets of their homies, the guys who are AFK, the guys who have other stuff going on. Because Eve's a fucking video game, and there are a few things worse than having to tell a guy who came back after being gone for a period of time for legit IRL reasons outside of his control that, hey, sorry, homie, all of your stuff is dead. Tough shit. There's nothing worse than that. Yep. So I feel for those guys, man. I haven't experienced it myself. We've been pretty fortunate, but I know, a lot of people have talked about kind of how that feels when you come back and all your shit's gone. So for everybody who lost stuff.
Muskie flat out says it. He's just said in the chat, Imperium plus B2 and in it had 550 plus battleships. Panfam had 330 battleships. Why would you not take that fight? Over Muskie, an irreplaceable asset? Why not?
Bro, cry is free, dude. Come on. Like, give it up. This is not the atmosphere, man. Like, come on, bro.
Even if it's not, the bottom line for me is it's like, look, a throwaway chance to screw with the guys that are taking, at the very least, with that many guys there, you could have impeded the looting. You could have stopped the guys from...
The fact that that's the winning, that he believes that is a winning argument, right? That guys, I just won this by writing these numbers. Like, it's self-evident that we shouldn't have fought. Like, this is what Panfam believes, right? And this is like the rot, right? That it's so non-obvious to them that that they should fight, that when he says these numbers, somehow this actually justifies acting this way, right? That's what it's hard to fathom, because it's like dealing with different cultures that you've never been tuned into. You can't understand how they think, and I don't understand that.
I need to know, and this is important. Is it a fear of like losing the objective, because the objective was lost, Or is it just a fear of feeding ships and having to pay out SRP? Because, like, bro, I don't know how to tell you this, homie. And trust me, speaking personally, as of like a couple of hours ago.
We're going to get to his speed later in the show.
We're going to get to my stuff. You're going to lose ships in the spaceship PvP video game, homie. That's just the way it is. Like, you can sit here and talk all day long about, oh, well, we don't want to feed. It's a tactical decision. But, like, what are you accomplishing otherwise? You're just going to have guys sit in the fleet and, like, pat him on the back. Good job, bro. We'll get him next time. Like, no, you won't. There aren't any more forts in Scarkon. Like, what's the point?
And you want to know what frustrates me more?
Spaceship video game. You're gonna sit around and jerk each other off. What are you doing? Like,
this is what frustrates me more than anything else, because then I gotta go argue about ansiblexes and power projection and all this kind of shit with the low sec guys and the wormhole guys and the fucking small game PvP guys who all think that everybody in nullsec has the same philosophy as Panfam of never take a fight unless you can hell dunk or blue balls the other guys.
Yeah,
and
he's absolutely right.
That is not
my guys.
I mean,
when this shit happens, my guys think you guys are pussies.
That's like, exactly what it is.
That's fucked up because it's not true.
And then they say we're rotting the game from the inside because none of us are willing to take fights because we're all too risk averse. We have too much stuff, but we're afraid to lose too much things and all that, too many things and all that kind of crap. And it's sometimes, you know what you got to do? You got to ask the guys in your fleet, hey guys, what do you want to do? And I will tell you this right now, because every single time I have been in a fleet where the FC has said, guys, we're outnumbered. There's a good chance if we take this fight, we're going to feed. What do you want to do? I have never, not once, in 16 years in EVE Online, heard any single member of that fleet say, yeah, we better stand down.
Yep, fucking send it, dude.
Not once.
Let's be real. Let's be real. There are fights that you just can't take. You can't be CO2
for sure
and take every fight because your alliance will die. That's just and everyone said I want to fight. No one wants to lose, and I get that. Like you have, like there was a fight we had on this W left Keepstar when we were assaulting it a few months ago, maybe 3 months ago, where we were just unprepared. They were better prepared. We showed up and I had to say, hey, sorry, we lost this one. Our bad, our bad. That was an armor ref that we could reset. Those kind of considerations do come into play, and I'm not going to pretend like we've never stood down from a fight. What we are like harping on here is the fact that this is your really important assets. This is something that you can't replace, and when you don't fight for that, your guys see it. When you stand down and say, "Hey, we can ref this again," like they're like, "Well, I'm disappointed. I wish we had fought better," but like there are people will come back because we've done it before. They've come back. But when you just do this on things that are important, visible symbols to your alliance that you have said over and over are important, that you formed up hundreds of times to defend, and then you don't, that's what eats at people. That's what gets you losing members. It's that kind of thing.
Well, because then people start asking what is important, right? Like this fort was more important than the TTT. Because they went off to defend this fort instead of the perimeter tower, right?
Right, exactly.
So what's more important than this?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Like, I mean, that's the thing. And if you want to look, I mean, I'll tell you this right now: the amount of stuff that dropped from the Scarkon Fortizar was considerable.
That's the crazy part is if they had been there, we made so much money, Chris.
That is the thing. I mean, I don't know if it hit the $1 trillion mark, but it was
easily.
in the. Do you think it hit the $1 trillion mark easily?
No,
I'll tell you.
I don't mean it's close to $1 trillion. I mean, did it hit 2 or 3? Those are the questions.
Wow.
Right. I mean, if you will look at
so much money.
Look, I mean, this is one can. This is one can. Please go ahead. This is one can that dropped. All of these fully researched BPOs, including a Chimera, an APOC, a bunch of like the mobile large warp disruptor alone. These are all huge drops, and it was obviously a fraternity member because the name of the can is in Chinese. So that was somebody that wasn't even there to defend it. Lost those BPOs. Absolutely nuts.
I'm just looking at screenshots in the chat of loot people got. This is individual people's loot, and it's so much loot that you just it's impossible to think it wasn't like closer to 2 trillion. I mean, first off,
here's some of the stuff that Asher's linking. So
there was a T2 Interceptor BPO, right? like
Whoa.
Look at
there
that
was an
Valve
Ares BPO that dropped. Like, so that alone, what are those worth? Like 200 billion? I know it's a lot.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, all of these ships, Lesheks, I mean, all kinds of stuff over here.
Yeah. How long did pop back hands for? They usually go.
Until I think like noon the next day.
I stayed up to 4. I stayed up till 4 a.m. Eastern, and it was still popping cans. We just had to go.
Did the jet can pop tie dye, or was it already tie dyed down?
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
It was tie dyed the whole time, but
it was tie dyed the whole time. But it never hit 10% because we never had a fight. I think the worst it got was in the 40s. You know, and I thought this was the best of all the jokes from Reddit last week, which was, show me the real philanthropist. That's Gobbins, because he just handed us trillions of ISK worth of Pandafam's money for nothing.
Beyond Knox says in the chat, the math I did last we checked was that we've seen over 1.8 trillion, 1.89 trillion, so basically 1.9 trillion, and that was before the T2 BPO. And we also killed, I think, like 600 billion just worth of stuff that we popped out of cans and shots.
That's so much money, man.
Right.
It was by the way, it was so much fun. Like I was really happy that they stood down, because first off, we get to make a lot of hay, and we're going to get members in, who are going to join us after they see that. I already know someone who did. They left Panfam after they saw it, so that was like awesome. But it was so much fun looting all that stuff. I was shooting stuff. I was popping out stuff and shooting it. I looted like 60 million because I was just killing Leshaks that I popped out and stuff like that. People were screeching at me. I'm like, nope, it's dying.
Yeah, that's the game's way to do it, dude.
I don't care. I'm shooting
the horde cans. I was only going to horde cans and popping out horde ships and blowing them up.
And on the screen right now is my kill board, and you can see, obviously, the bad guys start having fun because they donated. There is
fuck you.
seven pages of dead shuttles on my kill board now, thanks to the fun. 6, 6, 7. There you go, 7. And then I think there's the actual fort itself when we killed it. Yeah, 7 pages worth of shuttles on my kill board.
That's so good.
Thank you guys. Fuck you all very much. Anyway, yes. So, wow.
This guy, whatever this guy's name is, the one who's really mad, and he
Muskie.
says this is he says you're gonna need the loot for your war bonds, aka Ponzi scheme. Ash Elias, can you comment on this supposed Ponzi scheme?
I love this line of attack. Like I'm happy to stand up here and admit that Horde has more money and more people than us. Like that's not.
Yeah,
it's not
we're not arguing with you about that.
They act like it is. No, like you have more money and you have more people. It's what you do with the money and people. You don't do shit. If you did anything with it, people would like you. People would want to join you. You wouldn't be losing members. Like it's insanity that these are the winning points. When we were talking about the Delve Time Unit, it wasn't like the Delve Time Unit makes us who we are. It actualizes our reality that we mine a lot of shit. It was that we use this and then we fight with it, right? That was the point. And they don't understand why we were saying it. They copy the worst parts of it. It's like you want to be an influencer like the Kardashians, so you copy Kim's voice. That is not the reason you want to do it.
Right.
It's the ass.
And then I gotta say the other thing that I was laughing about was, because when you talk about losing irreplaceable things in EVE Online, it's a big deal. And there are only a handful, say, like the loss of the Scarkon Fort, very big deal. Only one of its kind. There's not another fort in Scarkon, and unless they change the rules in Pochven, there won't be. I think we're down to 2 forts left in all of Pochven. So we're not talking about a lot of these left. And once that's done, all the caps that are in Pochven are going to die or have to they're basically going to get insurance frauded because you can't dock them anywhere unless somebody wants to dump them in space. I don't know.
I'm the judge.
But the bottom line is, whenever we see irreplaceable things die, it's a sad day, especially when they don't generate a fight. And that happened twice this week. 2 times this week. It wasn't just the Scarkon Fort that wasn't defended. We also killed an undefended Dracus faction Fortizar in perimeter that was owned by Dreadit. No fight at all. This thing just died. Yeah. We have been, all of the nullsec powers have been in big fights with each other, and we're all still at war from the TTT nonsense. So the organization formerly known as Test could have brought guys to come defend. I mean, they probably would have to hire mercenaries or something, because I think there's like 7 of them left. But regardless, this is a Dracus Fortizar. It's the one that everybody wants. This is one of the last of its kind. There will not be more of these in the game when they die. And this thing died like without a fight.
It's still a Titan. It's nice to have. Maybe not necessarily the one you want, but you know.
I was going to say, listen,
it's all right. Yes, it's still a faction Fortizar. It's not a Marginus, but it's still a fact. I like the Dracus. I think it looks good. But the bottom line is,
the claw.
There are a limited number of these left in the game, and them dying without a fight is a travesty. And that happened twice. 2 irreplaceable assets are gone, and nobody had the balls to fight over them. And then I ask, and then this is what happens. Then we get asked by CCP and others, if you guys aren't willing to fight over this, what are you willing to fight over? And unfortunately for Panfam, it seems to be nothing. Unless they can, get 3 times as many dudes. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, they're willing to fight when they feel like they have a strong advantage. That's the only time they fight, right? And we've seen that for the last few years. We saw that in World War B. We saw that. Obviously, they started that out with 3 times our numbers, right? And it fell down. I mean, but they never, didn't have a significant advantage. And it's also why their FCs are so bad, right? And this is something that I always had an issue with when we were the biggest people on the block. Was if you always have to hammer, you'll never get better, right? If you always, it's like if you had a football team where one side had 11, the other side had 15. The side that has 15 people, the individual players are going to be worse, right? Because they don't need to work hard. That's just human nature. And when you never put yourself in a situation where you're at a disadvantage, you don't grow. And it's why they always get exposed when they don't have that advantage. Because, and I really shouldn't tell them this, but I feel like I give them obvious advice all the time and they never take it anyway. But if you put yourself at a disadvantage, if you intentionally take quote unquote bad fights, the people who are involved with them will get better because they have to. And that's something that they just don't seem to learn.
And this was the fight we took today, and we talked about it earlier. But we fed 132 billion is to 45. They had bigger numbers than us. We took the fight anyway, and instantly. And the thing is, it took less than like 5 minutes. As soon as that fort died, and the battle report flipped in such a way that it really made us look bad, we get a Gobbins snarky ping. Rest in piss, Scarky Fort. This dunk is for you. Scarky Fort. This dunk is for you.
If only there was something he could have done about it before then. If only his hands weren't tied behind his back to somehow defend it himself.
Right.
But this is the best he could do. He had something. He offered up this dunk over this EK2 fort, which is obviously a super important one. At least he had that to give back to the people, and I'm sure this feels great for them.
I'm sure it does. Now, we spent a lot of time dunking on Horde, and you've alluded to some of this stuff, but I want to bring it back because it's today's July 15th. You took over control of the Imperium and Goons Forum in July of 2022. I think the actual date is the closer towards the end of the month, like the 29th. But you have been the Alliance Executor of Goons for a year. You've been the Imperium head guy for a year. There have been ups and downs, but I want to hear from you. What has this year been like?
A lot of hard work, right? A lot of hard work. Casimir has a way with words, and the way he said it was how to fix an alliance that has depression, which I thought was a really good way to say it because after the war, a lot of the people who were in charge and who had run stuff were burnt out. They had done so much stuff, they had been playing so heavily that they just had lost the love for Eve, right? And they'd given so much, and they had won, right? That's the thing, is they had won, and so when you're like that, you're like, well, what do I do now? Where do I go from here? Um,
Did you ever see the movie The Candidate?
No, I don't think so.
It's got Robert Redford in it. And he basically runs for the Senate, and he is the underdog guy, and he unseats this big incumbent, and he's fighting really hard and fighting really hard and fighting really hard. And then at the end, the last scene, they're at the end of the party, everybody's gone home, and he's standing there, and it's just him. And he turns to the campaign manager and he says, "Now what?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's that. And that was it. You had these people who were saying, now what? And the love for it wasn't there because there were a lot of burnt out people in charge, and that was visible in our numbers. When I took over, the first thing I said in my first speech, I said, you vote with your feet, right? That's how you vote in EVE Online. I'm the executor. I try to listen to everyone, but what I say is law, right? And there's nothing you can really do about that. You can't murder me. You can't coup me, really. But you can go wherever you want, right? And that is how people express their will in EVE Online. And so before I took over, we had lost about 600 real people in the last half year. And since then, we've added about 1,000 since I've taken over. We've added about 1,000 real people. So, and then
many of whom have joined my corp, Karma Fleet, by the way. We are recruiting.
I
free plug.
don't know if it's your corp.
Yeah.
I'm a director, Mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
It's more of our corp,
I'm space,
I would say. But like a lot of our directors now are people who were not directors during World War B. They were, they were here, they were fighting, but they weren't in charge. And I think that's been a big difference, is that is getting fresh people and getting people in who care a lot about what we're doing and who have that sort of active, that vigor to prove themselves and to do new things, right? To show, put their mark on EVE Online, on Goons, on the Imperium. So that's been sort of my biggest challenge. There's been a lot of things that I've tried to focus on, but one of them is getting new blood, more blood, and people who are happy to be playing EVE. I really, if you've worked at a place, I know probably everyone's done this. You've worked at a place where the people are competent, but they hate it. And that drains my soul. I would rather work with enthusiastic middle level people, enthusiastic people who are pretty mediocre, than a super talented team of people who hate their jobs and hate being there, right? And obviously you'd rather have super talented people who love being there, but to me, the really important thing is getting people who care about it, who are happy to be there, and who have a good attitude. And that's one of the things I've talked about a lot, is I want people, when they see our work from the outside, to say, hey, that is a cool place to be. That is a place where people like it. There's a place where people will respect you. Those kind of things are important. And especially in a video game, it can get, I have to deal with this a lot still. I have to talk to people and say, hey, listen, we are customer service, right? If you want to be part of the directorate, if you want this job, you have to remember that you're customer service, and that someone's going to be complaining to you about crabbing or something, and you're going to want to tear your hair out, and you're going to sort of have to say, oh, thanks for the input, right? Rather than what you'd really like to say to them. But when you do that, it adds up. And I can see from all the metrics that we have visible that we are growing and we're doing well. And that was my goal, and that's where we are. So I'm happy with where we are. I feel like we're ahead of where I want it to be. I think there's still room for us to grow, and that is my goal. We have not finished yet, but we are in a place right now where we are a lot better than we were a year ago, and that is heartening.
Now, I know we're not going to talk about future plans, but let me ask you, what's next?
I know we're not going to talk about future plans. What are your?
I have to
plans?
ask. I'm waiting you to say. Well, I'm not going to talk about future plans.
What are your future plans?
Tell me your. You're not going to ask me future plans, but what are your future plans?
Yeah, you can speak in general. There, or I mean, I can speak in general, right? So, the future plans are getting us in a place where, we are able to fight on an even level with anyone in the game. And right now, I think it's pretty clear that outside of certain scenarios, that's not the case, right? But we're not far off. And so, I think that in the past, when I would do a campaign, before I was the leader, I would put us in a bad situation intentionally. And there was like, there were a lot of FCs who have since quit the game that used to make fun of me, like, oh, you would lost this fight. Like, I remember one time we brought like Typhoons up to Northern Coalition territory when they lived in Tribute. We brought up Typhoons and Carriers. They had Supers, they had Titans, and we would lose fights. But those fights were so good for training our FCs. And these NC dot FCs would put the BR up, and they're like, ha, we killed 180 billion, and you killed 120. We won. No, you didn't. You didn't win. Like you had a super fleet, and then good for you. I'm glad you got to use it. I'm sure that you were happy at that moment you got to use it. But that is not winning in EVE Online, at least in any way I define it, right? And so we are going to put ourselves in those positions where we can lose the fight. I am air quoting bigly here. Lose the fight. Yeah. Lose the fight, but we're going to win. And that and what you saw from those moments, that BR where we lost 180 billion and killed 120, was when they were in our space, when they were at our doorstep, and they didn't have that BR, and we did. We won. They went home. They did not have the will to finish it. And when you inculcate that in your culture, you will win. And that's what I want to push for in the future. I want people who are there to ride and die, right? That is who I want with me. And I know the people who are with them, and they will not do that. And if that sounds good to you, if you were listening to this because you wanted to hate watch and you like what you're hearing, come join us, come ride and die with us. If that's the culture you want to be in, if that's the culture you enjoy, and you're like, oh, I ended up here because someone told me to join, and this is not exactly what I want, we're here for you. We want those people on our side, and they're joining us. So that is our future.
That's what I like to hear. And that sounds to me the kind of thing that I think inspires people. That's the kind of thing that's going to want people to want to join us. And I think it's the kind of thing that's going to make sure that if we do take these fights and we do end up losing, or we do end up ending up on the negative side of an ISK war, which frankly, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't matter. Yeah. As long as the fun per hour is good, I'm happy with a fight. Even if we lose, I die in them all the time anyway. I think that's going to make sure that the next time the entire rest of the galaxy decides to gang up on us and come try to take our stuff, we will have the same result as it did the last time, which is we will win in the long run. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So
I try not to bloviate too long so that you can really take your time to make fun of Mark. I wanted to give you.
Well, that's we have 10 minutes left in the show.
Wow, running out of time. Oh, gotta cut.
So we haven't had a chance to really do this yet.
Done.
This is normally Mark's epic wormhole battles of the century of the week, but this time it's Brisc's epic wormhole battles of the century of the week. I'm going to play the little graphic, and then we're going to talk about Mark's favorite feed of this week.
Mark's epic wormhole battles of the century of the week.
So, Marky Mark, something happened today.
Yeah.
Something happened today. I'm going to pull it up on the screen, and this is funny because we were talking, Asher and Mark and I were talking before the show, obviously, and we were laughing about the fact that, like, wormhole battle reports will always look something like this. Like, you've lost... On one side lost 120 billion as the other side lost 20. And there were like 6 ships involved. I mean, that's how wormholers fight, right? Yeah. But look at this. 48 billion ISK lost, including Mark. What happened?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I want to
Mark.
say two things before we get into
Mark,
this.
what
The
happened?
first is that Zernatras are ammo. And the second thing is I have to fit my doctrines like this so that Angry Mustache will stay off my dick about blue loot. It's the only thing keeping me afloat right now. So I just need you guys to kind of understand where I'm coming from. But so what you're seeing here is a difficulty that happened earlier today. I'll paint you a very brief picture. You can scroll down to see the really good stuff, because that Zernature was not the most
before you explain, let me just walk this back a little bit. So this battle report doesn't look too bad. It's 48 billion to 0. Obviously, the 0 is kind of funny. They didn't kill anything on the other side.
Not one thing.
But I got to say, my boy Quantum here.
Yeah, Quantum's a gangster.
The Leshek shows up. Quantum Ace shows up as 6.45 bill on Z-Kill. But let me show you exactly what this thing was fit with, because it was worth a little bit more than that. So
just a bit.
There's a little, just a little bit of purple here. There's purple there.
Purple. Yeah.
Purples, purple,
Reds,
purple.
A lot of red.
A lot of abyssals. All of these abyssals. More abyssals over here. This is probably closer to a 50 billion-esque Leshak. Let me just tell you. Plus, he also had some purple loot in his cargo. Oh, look at other Cormacs.
He did.
Zorius.
What?
Terry. Yeah.
Shelms. Oh my goodness.
Shelms.
Yeah.
In the low, he had a Cormax there. He had other stuff. Look in here in the cargo. Look, there's another Cormax in the cargo.
So here's kind of the thing I've always told people is that it is Mama didn't raise no bitch.
True.
Clearly. Sometimes as fate designs it, you just got to full send, right? And what we saw in this instance was a Phoenix Navy just kind of lurking in space by itself. And we had just been baited down another chain. We had just come home and we had taken some bait. It wasn't good for us. We did get slapped in that engagement too. Went to go kill a Kronos. Suddenly there were like 30 Eoses and Ishtars right on top of us. It was messed up. But so we saw this. We saw a Tempest rolling a connection that was into our home hole, and we went to go kill the Tempest. We jumped through, and they see the PNI on the other side. So we scan it down, warp to it, and when we land, I want to tell you something about what we experienced here, because I couldn't help but laugh, and I know that he's going to have a video out about it, so you guys are going to see this eventually too. This is iBeast. It was iBeast in the Phoenix Navy, or Eddie Next Wormhole was in the Phoenix Navy, I think. I might be wrong about that. But either way, it was their group. They are extremely good at the game. They're very, very good at the game. Probably the best I've run into personally. They're real good. So what it was, we land on grid, we tackle, the Phoenix.
So you're saying this was a skill issue, Mark? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it was a lot of issues, Brisc.
Oh, all right, okay, all right, I got it.
So the biggest issue that we ran into was that we warped in thinking it was going to be HAW fit, because that's usually what you see with PNIs in wormhole space, because you can't apply XL missiles to subcaps. Or so I thought.
Or you thought.
Or so I thought. Yeah. So turns out you can. The tech exists, and what we experienced was I need you just to, so I'm 5 boxing, right? I got 5 clients up.
Can you zoom in on this battle report?
Yeah, you got to zoom in.
I'm zooming in again.
I got 5 tunes up. I'm doing different stuff. One of my accounts, Mark is going back to get a Zernitra, right? Because
how many toonies did you have up?
I had 5 toonies. Mark is going back to get a Zernitra. Because I want to nuke the PNI, and if it's HAW fit, then it can't really do shit to the Zern, right?
I just saw the tech. It's at the very bottom of the BR that Brisc is showing right now.
You're gonna want to, yeah. So anyway, I go back to get a Zern. One of my accounts is in a Leshak on grid shooting the PNI, and I look back over to the account, and I'm watching it. And suddenly I get red boxed by the PNI, and I'm like, all right, I got to broadcast, right? So I go to broadcast, and as I'm doing that, this is an amuleted Leshak. These aren't cheap Leshaks. I mean, you can look. One of the, I actually don't know if that tune ended up on the No,
you're the first one to die, by the way.
Yeah, no, trust me. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Mara, there it is. That was the look. Pull that fit up real quick. I want to show you. Like, this is not some T2 garbage. At the very top, that one. Yeah, click that one. Okay, so just and
spinning. There you go.
Yeah, she had an amulet in. This character was volleyed into half armor with a single volley of XL cruises. I had never experienced anything like it before in my life. It
turns out that like 93% webs on you probably allow those to apply real
and
nice.
The golem, the target painters probably helped.
So it was it was a lot of things. It was the webs obviously were legit. They had an armor paint golem on grid catching reps from the lift, right? That helped too. I mean, I've seen ships under like Zernature guns and Zernature.
I've seen some shit.
I have never seen anything like this before in my life. I was volleyed to half armor and then to like 10% armor, and then I was dead. And that was it. It was horrifying. I was like, the moment that happened, I should have like said something, but I thought for a second like
you were stun locked.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right.
I thought like, oh, maybe I forgot to turn my plate back on, because like sometimes you turn your plates off going back to wormholes because of mass issues.
Correct.
I thought, well, maybe I just fucked it up, because I'm thinking there's no way.
It was at this moment Mark realized he'd fucked up.
But I still was like, okay, well, that's fine. We've got ships on grid. We've got, guardians. They could probably keep the rest of the fleet up. I'll just send the Zernature over there, pressure the lift. We'll be fine. We can kill stuff. I was very wrong.
But not.
I was very wrong.
So when you brought the Zern out, were you shooting at the Phoenix Navy issue, or were you just shooting at the Fex?
I shot the Phoenix Navy issue first.
Okay.
Because at this point I'm thinking like, because we had, so the other guys who showed up on this BR, Turbo Miners, he's the guy who baited us earlier, by the way. Great bait. But this guy is like one dude and maybe some of his friends, they massive multi-boxes. Like each guy's probably got like 15 accounts up, probably more. I don't know. And he was still in chains, so he's like, hey man, we'll come help. Just like keep tackle up. And so I'm like, okay, so all we had to do is keep up the hick and the dictors as we can. No big deal. So he's burning over. And I'm thinking, well, if this guy's on grid, I got the Zern coming, like I've seen now what this thing can do to subcaps. I'm like, I'm about to send this dude in to get swamped by this PNI. I absolutely have to do something to the PNI. You can't, there's a nature is not enough to kill a PNI. I think we just went to an ad too, so it sucks. But either way, the Zernature is not enough to kill a PNI. PNIs are cracked. They are cracked. They are so good. And sure enough, it was too much for me. Certainly was too much for my poor triple or entropic sync Zernature that tanks less than a wet paper bag. So yeah, we got smoked. Absolutely memed on. Like that's a meme fit. What they did was a meme. But
did you learn something?
There you go.
That's what we were talking about,
I learned to not leave my house.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of, I want to say this too, though. It was so much fun. I feel like a lot of times you engage in fights like that and like it's kind of frustrating. Like you can't really find an edge anywhere and you go back and forth and it takes a while. You don't really accomplish anything and you leave and you're like, well, this was fucking stupid. Like, why do we do this? The way this happened was so dramatic and so like profoundly different than anything I've experienced in all of my time in wormhole space. I laughed.
Mark, pause for a second. Hold on a second. Hold what you're saying, because people are still getting ads. Listen, guys.
Oh, right, yeah.
I apologize. We have zero control over the ads on the show. Twitch puts them in every certain amount of time, and we can't turn them off. We would love to turn them off. If you want to turn them off,
and this is a technical thing, but can you roll ads intentionally to disable that? Because I think that's a thing.
We have to figure out how to do it, but I don't know how to do it when we're doing the show, because the way that we do it, I think the way that they set it up is if we do an hour, they roll a bunch of ads. So if I ever hit an hour, I got to like stop and wait until we're finished, and then we can keep going. The goal usually is to keep it under an hour so the ads aren't there as often. And then the other thing is, if you want to get around the ads, and I hate to sound like a fucking show, but I'll sound like it anyway, the only way to get around the ads is to sub to the stream. All right, so I just threw Mark a sub. you know, if you're going to watch the show long enough, you don't want to get stuck with these ads. If we're putting out a good product that you want to see every week, throw that in there so you don't have to see the ads. Just saying. We get almost nothing from the ad revenue. And the money that we do get from the stream gets plowed back into the stream anyway. Nobody makes any money off of
Yeah, if I have like 100 people on my stream and I
don't.
run an ad, I get like 4 cents.
Right, it's bullshit. Like, that is all money for Twitch. That is,
it's not worth anything.
It's not worth anything. So anyway, hopefully my ad pitch here will get us across the rest of the ads, and now you can finish with your story. So
all I'm saying is that it was the kind of feed that happens and you just kind of have to like get up and walk away for a little bit, which is what I did. I went and took a nap. It was great. Well,
first he pinged me and asked for a loan. That was funny.
I did. Yeah, I do need some money for a couple different reasons, obviously. But the biggest one is that my SRP wallet is going to suffer pretty hard after this. So, not saying
you have some collateral. Is that all?
Do you have any collateral? No.
How about this? I will, and wait for it. Are you ready? I will sell out and push to strengthen antiplexes.
Hey, there you go. That's a great idea.
I will sell out for some money.
Please.
It's you know, this is just the way it goes in wormhole space. Sometimes things go well for you. Sometimes you get kicked in the dick.
Can I ask a dumb, unfamiliar with wormhole question?
Please.
I know you can get a cap into a wormhole, like if it's a big enough mass. Can you build a capital in a wormhole?
Yeah.
Or do you need?
Yeah, we have the same industrial bonuses that you guys do.
Okay.
So
you just can't do supers without the iHub upgrade. So there's no supers, but you can do regular caps inside a wormhole.
You can't build supers because you need soft.
Yeah, I have upgrade for supers.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So like theoretically, you could, because I know some holes have just tons of caps. You could have 300 dreads in your own hole, right?
A lot of groups do.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have something like that? Is that a thing that you guys have?
Are you asking what my home defense looks like?
Am I asking like secret intel here? Like I don't know how.
Most groups. So I would say that we definitely have dreads. Clearly, I lose them all the time. That's no secret. We probably don't have nearly as many as I wish we would, because we fucking feed those things constantly. But there are certainly groups that have there are groups that have had the ones that are really nuts are the groups that have lived in like C4s, because you'll go in, you can't move capitals into C4s because they don't have XL connections anywhere. So they'll build them, they'll set down Asbel, build them in whole, and they can't do anything with them. So they just sit there forever. So a lot of times, and that's why for the longest time, groups like Hard Knocks and Inner Hell went after C4 groups, because they'd have these forts just fucking chock full of caps that they can't exfil. So they have to be somewhere in there. And then, they either undock and fight with them, or they die right when they pop out of the fort. So
right.
I certainly, I'll tell you this, Asher, as somebody in Lord Trenchard made a good point in chat. In terms of how many dreads we have in our home hole, we have one less today than we did yesterday.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes sense. That math checks out.
Yeah, it sure does. So it was a lot of fun. Listen, and I guess this is kind of the point that I was making earlier too. Like, I'll take that fight every single day. Like, I know that like it's super easy to meme on, and like I've memed on myself a lot since then. But if you see a Phoenix Navy in a vulnerable position, like if you don't go for that, you're a fucking coward, and you're no son of mine. You know what I mean? Like you gotta fucking go for it, man. You full send, and if you win, and it's great. And if you lose, then it sucks. But then you like go crab a little bit, and bada bing, bada boom, you're back in action just a little bit later. So.
Just that, or you ask your stream partner for a loan or something. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah, I mean,
there's ways to fix it.
If anybody's feeling a little generous, old Mark Resurrectus could use a little bit of money right now. I got to pay out a lot of SRP. I thought about submitting my my SRP bill to Oz's Shark Tank show.
That would be pretty good.
Do you SRP those Cormax mods? Is that something you give out?
we probably will not SRP the Cormax. He'll probably get. So generally the way we do it is, and this is not really a secret. A lot of groups do this. We'll do like 50% of the fit plus the ship. And then like we're working on getting pods too, because we want guys in pods, but we're not quite there yet. So
So you're going to basically owe Quantum 25 bill by the end of this whole thing, is what you're saying.
He saying. Sure would like that. Yeah, he would definitely like that. Yeah. So,
I mean, if you're in a battleship, it's pretty hard to lose. It's pretty hard to lose the implants. You know, if
you're going to get out, you got to frigate. You know, just warp away as soon as you can.
The Vindicator was sitting right on top of us as smart bombing. He had a full rack of smart bombs, which was fucking wild.
That helps.
So, you know,
there you go.
Good times.
Sounds like they were pretty prepared. I hope you'll learn something.
I got to give them credit. They not only baited you guys hard. They were masturbating.
I don't want to sound like I'm sucking their dick or anything, but like they are among the best, like the most cohesive group with because the numbers weren't crazy. I mean, I don't remember what the BR said. Yes, I do. I have it pulled up here right in front of me. What am I talking about? They only had like 10, 15 characters on grid, but like it's so well optimized and everything is so well planned out. Like even when they kind of fuck up and they like things don't quite go the way they want them to, it does not make a lick of difference. Yeah, they're so good. All right, and I guess that's the thing that made it like okay, like tolerable for me is that you know if
you're gonna get your ass kicked, at least you got your ass kicked by the 27 Yankees or something. Yeah. I mean, you know, you got your ass kicked by a good team. You don't feel too bad about it. Just saying. Yeah. Anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of the show. I would like to say thank you, a big Meta Show thank you to our man, Asher Elias, the Goonsform executor, for showing up today and taking our questions and having a good time. Thank you for being here, Asher. We very much appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right. Mark, any final words before we get out of here?
Love each other. Hold your loved ones close. And stay as far away as you can from that wormhole specifically. It is absolutely cursed.
That one's going to get you good. That one's going to get you good. Shout out to
Mark's SRP fund.
Shout out to my SRP fund.
There you go. All right, and from the Meta Show, a couple of INN highlights I want to bring to your attention to make sure you are paying attention. The Imperium News Network, we are streaming a lot more than we used to. We've got a ton of good programming coming up over the next few weeks. First of all, obviously, the Meta Show every Saturday, Push to Talk every Saturday. These are our anchor shows. They've been around a very long time. Next Friday, this Friday night coming up, we'll be starting a Dungeons & Dragons game that will be televised live on INN. And we'll be giving away Logitech, our newest sponsor, will be giving away some swag to all you guys. You're going to have a chance to pick between one Logitech peripheral that you want to get if you win the giveaway. That will be Friday night. So check that stream out here on INN. In addition, I also want to highlight my good friend, Betty Rage, has started streaming Wednesday night faction warfare stuff. In addition, Mark and Mifune are also doing Wednesday night wormhole stuff.
Hell yeah.
And then Thursdays, we have Theta Thursday. King Wolf has been streaming Diablo 4, among other things. We've got a bunch of different content here on INN for you guys throughout the week. And then, as always, we cover breaking news around New Eden as it's happening. So right now is the best time. If you have not been hanging out at INN, or if you've been watching the Meta Show and that's the only thing you watch on INN, please take a look at all of the other programming that we provide during the week. If you think we're doing a good job, you want to throw us a little help, a subscription never hurts, especially if you got that Bezos bucks out there and you want to spend that Twitch Prime sub on INN. We'd love to have you. And I'd like to say, as always, thank you guys for being the best audience in New Eden, and thank you for playing our favorite video game, EVE Online. From all of us here at the Meta Show, today has been the Meta Show for July the 15th, 2023. I'm joined alongside Mark and Asher Elias. I'm Brisc Rubal, and you stay classy, New Eden.